The morning alarm rang through the sleeping quarters of Station Omega-7. Jinwoo Kim opened his eyes and stared at the metal ceiling above his bed. Today was different. Today was the final test. He sat up slowly and looked around the room. His roommate Minho Lee was already awake, sitting on the edge of his bed and putting on his boots. Minho was not human like Jinwoo. He came from a planet with purple skies and had green-tinted skin. But they had been friends since their first day at the Galactic Military Academy 3 years ago. "You ready for this?" Minho asked in basic Galactic, the language all cadets had to learn. Jinwoo shrugged. As ready as anyone can be, but that was not true. Something felt wrong today. Jinwoo had strange dreams all night. Dreams of darkness and hunger. Dreams of creatures that ate planets whole. He shook his head and tried to forget them. The two friends walked to the mess hall for breakfast. The huge room was full of cadets from many different species. There were the Chronari, tall reptile-like beings with sharp teeth and red eyes. The Vorthok looked like living crystals that caught the light in strange ways. The Luminae were beings made of pure energy, glowing softly as they moved. And then there were the humans. Only 12 humans in the entire academy. Earth was still. New to the galactic community, most species thought humans were too weak and too short-lived to be good soldiers. Jinwoo grabbed a food tray and sat down at a table with other human cadets. Everyone was talking about the final test. For 3 years they had trained for this day. They had learned to use plasma weapons, energy shields, and combat suits. They had studied the tactics used to fight space pirates and alien monsters. But no one knew what the test would be. "I heard they bring in real enemies," said Doyen, another human cadet. "Not training robots. Real threats." "That's just a rumor," replied Sora, a human girl from the Mars colonies. "They would never put students in real danger." Jinwoo listened, but did not speak. The strange feeling in his chest was getting stronger. It felt like he was remembering something he had never learned. Something old and important. After breakfast, all cadets went to the main briefing room. The room could hold 1,000 beings, and today it was completely full. Cadets sat in groups by species, talking quietly among themselves. Commander Houn. Park walked to the front of the room. She was one of only 3 human instructors in the academy. Her face was serious, more serious than Jinwoo had ever seen it. The room became quiet. "Cadets," Commander Park began, her voice carried by speakers, to every corner of the room. "Today you face your final combat test. For 3 years you have prepared for this moment. You have learned to work as teams. You have learned to fight as soldiers. Today we will see if you are ready to defend the galaxy." She paused and looked. Across the room, her eyes seemed to stop on the human section for just a moment longer than the others. "This year's test is different," she continued. "The Academy Council has decided that you must face a real threat. It's not a simulation, not a training robot. It's a real enemy that has destroyed worlds." The room erupted in excited whispers. Some cadets seemed thrilled. The Chronari cadets hissed with pleasure, showing their sharp teeth. The Vorthok crystals pulsed with bright colors. Even some of the human cadets looked excited, but Jinwoo felt cold. The strange feeling in his chest became a knot of fear. Commander Park raised her hand for silence. "You will face a creature we call the Devourer. It is a world eater, being that has consumed 3 entire planets before we captured it." The room was completely silent. World eaters were not just stories told to frighten children. They were real. Ancient creatures that came from the dark spaces between stars. They ate everything: planets, stars, entire solar systems. "The creature is contained in Training Field 7, Commander Park said. "The field is a pocket dimension. Even if something goes wrong, the creature cannot escape to harm the station. You will enter in teams of 10. Each team will have 5 minutes to engage the target. Your job is to survive and show your combat skills." A Chronari cadet raised his clawed hand. "Commander, what weapons are we allowed to use?" "Standard combat gear," she replied. "Plasma rifles, energy shields, combat armor. You may work together or separately. The choice is yours." More questions came from around the room. How big was the creature? How many teeth did it have? What was the best way to attack it? But Jinwoo was not listening anymore. The cold feeling in his chest had spread through his whole body. Felt like he was falling, even though he was sitting still. Images flashed through his mind, images that made no sense. He saw humans with stone weapons fighting creatures made of shadow, saw planets being eaten by things that looked like living darkness. He saw small groups of humans standing against impossible odds and somehow winning. Jinwoo. Minho's voice brought him back to reality. You look sick, are you okay? I'm fine, Jinwoo said, but his voice sounded strange even to himself. Commander Park was finishing her briefing. Report to Equipment Room 3 to get your gear. First teams enter the training field in 1 hour. Remember, this is not a game. This creature has killed millions of beings. Treat it with respect, and maybe you will live to graduate. Ain't the cadets began to file out of the room. Jinwoo stood up slowly, his legs feeling weak. As he walked toward the exit, he heard 2 Vorthok cadets talking in their crystal-like voices. Humans should go first, one said. They are weakest. Better to lose them early. Yes, agreed the other. Humans break easily. Not like us. Minho heard them too and started to get angry. But Jinwoo put a hand on his friend's arm. Let them think what they want, he said quietly. But inside, something was awakening. Something old and fierce that whispered, they do not know what humans can do. They have forgotten the old wars. They have forgotten who fought the darkness before. Did not understand the voice in his head. But as they walked toward the equipment room, the cold fear in his chest began to change into something else. Something that felt like the memory of ancient battles won against impossible odds. The training field waited, somewhere in its pocket. Dimension, something that 8 worlds was waiting too. But for the first time since waking up, Jinwoo Kim was not afraid. Equipment Room 3 was full of nervous energy. Cadets strapped on combat armor and checked their weapons. The plasma rifles hummed with power. Energy shields flickered to life with soft blue light. Everyone was trying to look brave, but Jinwoo could see fear in many eyes. Minho helped Jinwoo put on his armor. The metal plates felt heavier than usual. Or maybe that was just the weight of what they were about to face. Team assignments are posted, called out Instructor Hwan, a stern Korean man with scars on his face. First team enters in 10 minutes. Jinwoo looked at the list on the wall. His heart sank. He was in Team 1, the first team to face the Devourer. Go first, he told Minho. Minho's green skin turned a shade paler. Well, he said, trying to smile, at least we will get it over with quickly. Team 1 had 10 cadets. 3 Kronari, 2 Vorthok, 2 Lumine, 1 other alien cadet that looked like a walking tree, and 2 humans, Jinwoo and Minho, the team. Leader was a large Kronari named Taiho. He had red scales and yellow eyes that never seemed to blink. Listen up, Taiho said in his hissing voice. I have fought in 3 real battles. I know how to kill dangerous things. We spread out in attack formation, hit it with everything we have. Fast and hard. Questions. One of the Vorthok cadets, her crystal body flashing purple, asked, what if it is too strong for our weapons? Taiho showed his sharp teeth. Then we die with honor, better than running like scared children. Jinwoo noticed that Taiho did not look at him or Minho when he talked about running. But the meaning was clear. Humans were expected to run. They walked through the corridors toward Training Field 7. Other cadets watched them go. Some wished them luck, others just stared. Everyone knew Team 1 might not come back. The entrance to Training Field 7 was a massive metal door. 2 guards stood beside it, both wearing full battle armor. Warning signs covered the walls in dozens of languages. All of them said the same thing: extreme danger. Commander Park was waiting for them. She wore combat armor too, and her face was very serious. Remember, she said to the team, this is a real world eater, has destroyed entire planets. Do not take any unnecessary risks. I order you to retreat, you retreat immediately. Understood? Yes. Commander, the team said together. But Jinwoo barely heard her words. The strange feeling in his chest was getting stronger. It felt like someone was whispering to him in a language he did not know but somehow understood. The whispers said things about darkness and hunger and ancient battles fought long ago. The metal door began to open. It moved slowly, making a sound like grinding stone. Beyond the door was not a room, but a swirling wall of gray mist. This was the entrance to the pocket dimension. 30 meters inside, you will find the creature, Commander Park said. Combat suits have cameras. We'll watch everything from the control room. If something goes wrong, we can pull you out. Good luck. Tai-Ho led the team through the mist. The moment they stepped through, Jinwoo felt reality change around him. The air tasted different. Gravity felt lighter. This was not normal space. They walked forward in attack formation. Tai-Ho and the other Chronari in front, weapons ready. The Vorthok and Luminae in the middle, their energy powers charged. Jinwoo and Minho brought up the rear. There, whispered one of the Vorthok. Ahead of them, something moved in the gray mist. Something huge. The Devourer stepped into view, and Jinwoo's breath caught in his throat. It was not what he had expected. The creature was 30 meters tall. Made of what looked like living shadow, it had no fixed shape. Sometimes it looked like a giant wolf. Sometimes like a massive spider. Sometimes like things that had no name. Its body was covered in mouths. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. Each mouth was full of teeth that looked like broken stars. But the worst part was its eyes. It had eyes everywhere, scattered across its dark body like glowing coals. And all of them were hungry, so hungry that looking at them made Jinwoo feel empty inside. Attack formation, Tai-Ho shouted. The team spread out. Plasma bolts began flying toward the creature. The Chronari fired their rifles in controlled bursts. The Vorthok created crystal spears and launched them like arrows. The Luminae combined their energy into bright beams of light. Every attack hit. The Devourer creature roared, a sound like planets screaming, but instead of being hurt, it seemed to grow larger. The plasma bolts disappeared into its shadow body. The crystal spears melted before they could pierce its skin. The energy beams were absorbed like water into sand. It is eating our attacks, shouted one of the Luminae. The creature moved toward them, did not walk. It flowed like liquid darkness. Where its feet touched the ground, the surface turned black and cracked. Fall back, Tai-Ho ordered. New formation. But as the team repositioned, something strange happened. Jinwoo had been moving to the left side of the formation when he tripped over something in the mist. He fell hard and rolled toward the Devourer. For a moment, he was only 5 meters away from the creature. Close enough to see the individual teeth in its many mouths. Close enough to feel the cold hunger radiating from its body. But the Devourer stopped moving. All of its eyes turned to look at Jinwoo. The creature's shadow body rippled like water. Its mouth stopped whispering. For a few seconds, there was complete silence. Then the Devourer took a step backward. Jinwoo, Minho shouted. Get away from it. Jinwoo scrambled to his feet and ran. Back to the team, but he kept looking over his shoulder. The creature was still watching him. Its eyes followed his movement, but it did not chase him. Why did it stop? Asked one of the Vorthok. Tai-Ho snarled. Does not matter. Keep firing. The attacks resumed. Plasma bolts and energy beams struck the Devourer again and again. But now the creature seemed distracted. Some of its eyes still watched. Jinwoo, instead of the fighters attacking it, and then it spoke. The voice came from all of its mouths at once. It sounded like wind through empty space, like the death of stars, like the echo of ancient screams, you had said, and every word made. The air shake. You carry the echo. The team stopped firing. Everyone stared at the creature. What echo? Tai-Ho demanded, pointing his rifle at the thing. What are you talking about? But the Devourer was not looking at Tai-Ho. All of its eyes were fixed on Jinwoo. The echo of the First War, it said. The echo of those who fought the hungry dark. The echo of the rememberers. Jinwoo felt the blood drain from his face. The voice in his head was whispering again, louder now. It spoke of battles fought before history began. of humans with stone spears facing creatures that ate reality itself, of a war that ended not with victory, but with something else. Something that left marks on the souls of those who fought. "I do not understand," Jinwoo said, his voice barely audible. The Devourer's shadow body rippled again. "Your kind remembers. Deep in your blood, deep in your bones, you remember the taste of defiance. Remember what it means to say no to the dark." Commander Park's voice crackled through their communication devices. "All teams, evacuate immediately. The creature is becoming unstable." But as the team began to retreat, Jinwoo found himself walking toward the Devourer instead of away. "From it, Jinwoo?" Minho grabbed his arm. "What are you doing?" Jinwoo looked at his friend, then back at the creature. "I think," he said slowly, "I think it is trying to tell me something important." The Devourer lowered its massive head until its closest eyes were level with Jinwoo's face. When it spoke again, its voice was quieter, almost sad. "We remember you, too," it whispered. "We remember the pain you caused us, the first pain we ever felt. The pain that taught us that some things cannot be consumed." And then, for reasons Jinwoo did not understand, he was no longer afraid. The medical bay was full of injured cadets. Most of Team 1 lay on white beds, their bodies drained of energy from being too close to the Devourer. The creature had not attacked them directly, but its presence alone was enough to make strong. Warriors weak. Taiho, the Kranari team leader, was unconscious. His red scales had turned gray, and his breathing was slow and shallow. The two Vorthok cadets looked like cracked glass, their crystal bodies dim and lifeless. Even the energy beings from Team Lumine had lost their glow. But Jinwoo felt fine. Better than fine, actually. While his teammates recovered from energy drain, he felt more awake and alert than ever before. "How are you not sick?" asked Dr. Soyang. The medical officer examining him. She was human too, one of the few human doctors in the galaxy. Everyone else who got close to that thing is half dead. Dunu shrugged. "I do not know. I feel normal." That was not entirely true. He did not feel normal. He felt like he was remembering things he had never learned. Old words and languages that did not exist anymore. Images of battles fought under alien stars. The taste of fear and victory mixed together. Mitch sat in the bed next to him. His green skin had a sick yellow tint, and his hand shook when he tried to drink water. "That thing knew you," Minho said quietly. "It talked to you like it had met you before." "I have never seen it before in my life," Jinwoo replied. "But you were not afraid of it. At the end, you walked toward it. Everyone else was running away, but you walked toward it." Jinwoo did not have an answer for that. He remembered the moment when his fear had disappeared. It was like a switch turning off in his mind. One second he was terrified, and the next second he felt ... familiar. Like he was greeting an old enemy commander. Park entered the medical bay. She looked tired and worried. Her eyes moved from bed to bed, checking on the injured cadets before stopping at Jinwoo. "I need to talk to you," she said. Privately, they walked to a small office next to the medical bay. Commander Park sat behind a desk and gestured for Jinwoo to sit across from her. "What happened in that training field?" she asked. "We attacked the creature. Our weapons did not work. It talked to me. Then you ordered us to evacuate. It talked to you specifically? Said things about echoes and rememberers and a first war. Do you know what any of that means?" Jinwoo hesitated. "No, but when it spoke, I felt like I should know. Like the knowledge was there, but I could not reach it." Commander Park leaned forward. "Jinwoo, I am going to tell you something that is not in any official reports. This is not the first time a World Eater has reacted strangely to humans." She opened a file on her desk computer. Images appeared on the screen, pictures of other creatures like the Devourer. Some were smaller, others even larger. All of them looked like living nightmares made of shadow and hunger. 17 times. In the last 50 years, World Eaters have been encountered by mixed crews that included humans. In every case, the creatures showed unusual behavior when humans were present. Sometimes they retreated. Sometimes they stopped attacking. Once, A world eater actually protected a human ship from space pirates. Jinwoo stared at the images. Why? That is what we want to find out. The Academy has been studying this pattern for years. We think humans have some kind of natural defense against these creatures. Something in your biology or psychology that makes you immune to their influence. But I am not special, Jinwoo said. I am just a cadet. I barely passed my combat training. Commander Park smiled sadly. Maybe being just human is more special than you think. She closed the file and looked directly at him. I want you to research something. Go to the Academy archives. Look up anything you can find about pregalactic history. Before any of our species had space travel. Look for references to something called the Silence Wars. The Silence Wars. Old legends. Most species have forgotten them, but every culture in the galaxy has some version of the story. Ancient wars fought against creatures of darkness. Wars that ended not with victory or defeat, but with ... silence. Jinwoo left the commander's office with his head full of questions. The Academy archives were in the deepest part of Station Omega-7. The archive keeper was an ancient being that looked like a walking tree. It had been collecting information for over 1,000 years. Silence Wars, the keeper repeated, when Jinwoo made his request. Its voice sounded like wind through leaves. Very old stories. It's very incomplete records. Most scholars think they are just myths. I want to read whatever you have. The keeper led him to a section of the archives that looked like it had not been visited in decades. Dust covered everything. The information crystals were old and dim. For hours, Jinwoo read fragments of stories from dozens of different worlds. Each culture told the story differently, but the basic elements were always the same. Long ago, before space travel, before modern technology, creatures of living darkness came from the void between stars. They were called many names: the Hungry, Dark, the Void Spawn, the World Eaters. They consumed entire planets, leaving nothing but empty space behind. Most species fought them with armies and weapons and failed. The creatures grew stronger with each battle, feeding on the energy of their enemies. But one species found a different way to fight. They were described as small, weak beings with short lives. They had no natural armor, no energy powers, no advanced technology, but they had something else. Something the stories called inherited defiance, or the memory of resistance. These small beings did not fight the Hungry Dark with weapons. They fought with something deeper, something that came from their very nature. And somehow, impossibly, they won. Not by destroying the creatures, but by changing them. By making them remember what it felt like to be refused. The wars ended in silence, because there were no more battles to fight. The Hungry Dark withdrew too. The spaces between stars, and did not return for millions of years. But the small species left something behind, a mark on reality itself. It's an echo that would warn future generations when the darkness returned. Jinwoo sat back in his chair, his heart beating fast. The species in the stories had no name, but the descriptions matched humans perfectly. Small, weak, short-lived, but with an ability to refuse what seemed impossible to refuse.
Fight!
Finding anything interesting? Jinwoo turned around to see Nari Choi, the Academy's tactical analyst. She was young for her position, maybe 30 years old, with sharp eyes and an intense expression. Just old stories, Jinwoo said. Stories about wars fought by humans before humans had space travel. Nari sat down next to him. I have been reading the same stories for 2 years. You know about this? I know about patterns. I track unusual events involving world eaters and other dark space entities. Every time, the same thing happens when humans are present. The creatures stop behaving like mindless monsters. They start acting like they remember something. She pulled out her own data tablet and showed him charts and graphs. Look at this. Data. In normal encounters, world eaters consume everything in their path. But in encounters involving humans, consumption rates drop by 90%. It is like they become ... hesitant. But why has no one talked about this before? Because most galactic species do not want to believe that humans, the newest Weakest species in the galaxy might be the key to fighting the oldest and most dangerous threats. It hurts their pride. Nari leaned closer to him. But I think the stories are true. I think humans are the descendants of the species that fought the Silence Wars, and I think that creature in the training field recognized something in you that it has been afraid of for millions of years. Before Jinwoo could respond, alarms began ringing throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed red. An announcement echoed through the corridors. All personnel to emergency stations. Containment breach in Training Field 7. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Nari grabbed Jinwoo's arm. The Devourer, she said. It is breaking free. Through the archive windows, they could see ships launching from the station's docking bays. Evacuation ships. But evacuation would take hours. And World Eaters could consume a space station in minutes. Jinwoo felt the strange sensation in his chest again. But this time, it was not fear or confusion. This time it felt like recognition. Somewhere deep inside him, an ancient voice whispered, "Time to remember what humans are really for." The emergency alarm was so loud it hurt to think. Red lights flashed in every corridor as people ran in all directions. Some ran toward escape pods, others ran toward weapon stations. Everyone was afraid. Jinwoo and Nari ran through the corridors, toward the command center. They could feel the station shaking, not from engines or weapons, but from something else. Something wrong? The command center was chaos. Officers shouted orders at screens full of data. General Curie Bay, the station commander, stood in the middle of it all. She was tall and made of living crystal like all Vorthok, but her usual calm. Blue glow had turned angry red. "Status report," she demanded. "The containment field is at 30% and dropping," reported an officer. "The Devourer is expanding beyond the pocket dimension. At current rate, it will reach the station hull. In 12 minutes, weapons. All weapons fired. No effect. The creature absorbs our energy attacks and grows stronger." General Bay's crystal body flashed brighter red. "What about evacuation? Evacuation ships are launching, but we have 50,000 people on this station. Need at least 2 hours to get everyone off safely. We do not have 2 hours.
Commander."
Park appeared beside them, still wearing her combat armor. "General, I request permission to take a team back into the field." "Absolutely not. We just lost half of Team 1-2 energy drain. I will not sacrifice more cadets." "But there might be another way," Nari spoke up. Everyone turned to look at her. "The creature reacts differently to humans. We think it might be afraid of them." General Bay's crystal face showed confusion. "Afraid of humans? It makes no sense. Humans are the weakest species in the galaxy." "Maybe." "Weakness is not what matters here," Commander Park said. "Maybe there are other kinds of strength." On the main screen, they could see the Devourer through security cameras. It had grown much larger since breaking containment. Now it was 60 meters tall and still growing. Its shadow body flowed like dark water through the training facility. Where it touched the walls, metal turned to dust. But something strange was happening. Instead of moving in a straight line toward the station, the creature seemed to be searching for something. Its hundreds of eyes looked in all directions. Its many mouths whispered words in dead languages. "What is it looking for?" asked Anne. Officer Jinwoo watched the screen and felt the familiar stirring in his chest. The ancient voice was speaking again, clearer now than ever before. "It is looking for me," he said quietly. Everyone turned to stare at him. "What did you say?" General Bay demanded. "It is looking for me," Jinwoo repeated, louder this time. "When we were in the training field, it spoke to me. It called me a rememberer. It said my kind carries the echo of the First War." "This is nonsense," General Bay said. "You are a cadet, a student. You have no training for this kind of situation." Commander Park was looking at Jinwoo with new understanding. What if he is right? What if the creature wants to communicate? Communicate? General Bay's crystal body flashed angry red again. "It is a world eater. It destroyed 3 planets. But it has not destroyed anything here," Nari pointed out. "It broke containment 20 minutes ago. It could have started consuming the station immediately." Instead, it is searching. On the screen, the devourer had stopped moving. All of its eyes were now looking in the same direction, toward the command center. "It knows we are watching," whispered an officer. Then the devourer spoke. Its voice came through the station's communication system, making the walls vibrate with each word. "Where's the rememberer?" it asked. "Where's the one who carries the echo? We must speak before the hunger returns." General Bay looked at the screen, then at Jinwoo, then back at the screen. "Before the hunger returns. What does that mean?" Jinwoo felt understanding dawn in his mind like sunrise. "It means the creature does not want to be hungry. The hunger is not its choice." He stepped forward. "General, I request permission to speak with the creature." "Absolutely not." "With respect, General, you said we have 50,000 people on this station. The evacuation will take 2 hours. The creature will reach us in less than 12 minutes. Our weapons do not work. What other options do we have?" Commander Park nodded. "He is right. We have tried everything else." General Bay was quiet for a long moment. Her crystal body slowly changed from red to yellow, the Vorthok color for deep thought. "If you go out there," she said finally, "you will probably die." "If I do not go out there," Jinwoo replied, "everyone will probably die." 5 minutes later, Jinwoo walked alone through the damaged corridors toward Training Field 7. He wore only basic protective gear, no weapons. Number 6. Armor. Commander Park had wanted to send a full team with him, but the Devourer had been specific. It would only speak to the Rememberer, alone. Behind him, through his communication device, he could hear the evacuation continuing. Children crying as families boarded escape ships. Officers shouting orders. The sound of a civilization trying to save itself. The entrance to Training Field 7 was completely destroyed. Where there had been a metal door, now there was just a hole leading into swirling darkness. The pocket dimension was collapsing, mixing with normal space in ways that hurt to look at. Ginwoo stepped through the hole. Inside, reality was broken. The floor was sometimes solid, sometimes liquid, sometimes not there at all. The air tasted like old stars and forgotten dreams. And in the center of it all stood the Dever. It was enormous now, over 100 meters tall, its shadow body, writhed with hunger and pain. But when it saw Jinwoo, it became very still. "You came," it said, and its voice was softer than before. "Almost grateful. You asked me to come, we did not think you would. Your kind has learned to fear us as they should. We are death, we are the end of worlds." Ginwoo walked closer. He should have been terrified, but the ancient voice in his head was calm now, confident. "But you do not want to be death," he said. "He said the hunger returns. That means sometimes it goes away. Devourers, hundreds of eyes all focused on him, you understand? Your ancestors understood too. They were the only ones who ever saw us as more than monsters. What happened to my ancestors? What was the first war really about?" "It was not a war," the Devourer said sadly. "It was a curse. We were like you once, small, weak, mortal. But we found something in the dark between stars, something that promised to make us strong forever." Shadow body rippled with old pain. "We accepted the gift. We became world eaters. But the gift was a trap. We cannot stop being hungry. Cannot stop consuming. We can only pause for brief moments when we remember what we used to be. And my ancestors helped you remember? Your ancestors were the first to refuse us, not with weapons or armies, but with something deeper. They looked at us and said, no, you do not have to be this. They reminded us that even monsters can choose to be something else." Jinwoo felt tears on his face. He understood now. The ancient wars had not been about destroying the world eaters. They had been about saving them. "Is that why you are here?" he asked. "Do you want us to help you remember again?" The Devourer's voice became very quiet. "The hunger is returning. You can feel it growing stronger. Soon, we will not be able to resist. We will consume this station, these people, everything unless..." "Unless what?" "Unless a Rememberer helps us break the curse. It's forever this time. But the price is very high." "What price?" The Devourer lowered its massive head until its eyes were level with Ginwoo's face. "A life freely given. It's a willing sacrifice. From one who carries the echo? Someone must take the hunger into themselves so we can be free. Jinwoo's blood turned cold. You want me to die? We want you to choose, as your ancestors chose. They saved us once by showing us we had a choice. Now you must choose whether to save us again. Through his communication device, Jinwoo could hear the evacuation continuing. Thousands of people depending on him, station shaking as the Devourers. Presence grew stronger, and deep in his chest, the ancient voice whispered one word: choose. Jinwoo stood in the broken reality of Training Field 7, facing a choice that would change everything. The Devourer waited for his answer, its hundreds of eyes watching him with something that looked like hope. Through his communication device, he could hear the chaos on the station. More evacuation ships launching. The voice of General Bay ordering all weapons to fire at the creature, even though they knew it would not work. The sound of 50,000 people trying to escape from death. How long do I have to decide? Jinwoo asked. Not long, the Devourer replied. Its shadow body was starting to pulse with dark energy. The hunger grows stronger every moment. Soon we will not be able to control it. Soon we will consume everything, whether we want to or not. Jinwoo closed his eyes and tried to think. The ancient voice in his head was speaking, but not in words. It was showing him images. Pictures of the past that felt like memories. He saw his ancestors, early humans with stone tools and animal skins. They lived in a time before space travel, before modern technology. But they were not primitive. They were brave in a way that had nothing to do with weapons or strength. When the first World Eaters came to Earth, most creatures ran or hid. But humans did something different. They stood their ground. Not because they thought they could win, but because running felt wrong. The World Eaters had expected fear. It expected armies and weapons and desperate battles. What they got instead was a small group of humans who looked at cosmic horror and said simply, "No, you do not have to do this." Those humans had died, of course. But their refusal had planted something in the World Eaters' minds. A memory of choice. A reminder that even cursed beings could decide to be something else. My ancestors, Jinwoo said, opening his eyes. They did not defeat you in battle, did they? They saved you by showing you that you were still yourselves inside the curse, yes, the Devourer said. They reminded us that we were not just hunger. We were people who had made a terrible mistake. People who could still choose to be better. And now you need someone to take the curse away completely. The curse can only be broken by a willing sacrifice. Someone must accept the hunger so we can be free of it. But ... double quotes. The Devourer's voice became sad. We do not know what will happen to the one who takes it. The hunger is very strong. It might destroy them or change them into something else. Jinwoo thought about his friend Minho, probably still sick in the medical bay. He thought about Commander Park, who had trusted him with this mission. He thought about all the people on the evacuation ships, families with children, students, like himself, beings from dozens of worlds who just wanted to live peaceful lives. Then he thought about the Devourer, a creature that had been trapped in endless hunger for millions of years, a being that had never wanted to be a monster but could not stop itself from destroying worlds. If I take the curse, Jinwoo said, what happens to you? We become what we were before, mortal again, small, weak, but free. And what happens to all the other World Eaters in the galaxy? The Devourer's eyes brightened with surprise. You know about the others? Commander Park showed me files. There are many of you scattered across space, all cursed the same way. The curse is broken here. It breaks everywhere. All of our kind will be freed at once. The hunger that has plagued the galaxy for eons will finally end. Jinwoo felt the weight of that knowledge. Hundreds of World Eaters, maybe thousands, all trapped in the same curse. All waiting for someone brave enough or foolish enough to set them free. There is something else, he said. Something I do not think you understand about humans. What? We are stubborn. When something tries to consume us, we consume it back. When something tries to change us, we change it instead. Hunger might be too strong for other beings, but humans... We have been saying no to impossible things for our entire history. Through the communication device, Commander Park's voice crackled. Jinwoo, the creature is growing again. We are reading massive energy spikes. What is happening in there?
Jinwoo
Looked up at the devourer. Its shadow body was pulsing faster now, fighting against its own nature. The hunger is winning, is it not? The devourer said through gritted teeth that looked like broken stars. We cannot hold it back much. Longer, please. Decide. Jinwoo took a deep breath. The ancient voice in his head was no longer whispering. Now it was singing a song of defiance that had echoed through human history from the first time someone had stood up to a tyrant and said no. I accept, he said. Jinwoo. No. At. Minho's voice came through the communication device. He must have left the medical bay and made it to the command center. There has to be another way. But Jinwoo was already walking toward the devourer. There is another way, he said calmly. I'm going to take the curse, but I'm not going to let it win. The devourer lowered its massive head. You do not understand. The hunger is more than desire. It is a living thing. It will try to make you into what we became. Then it is going to have a very interesting fight. Jinwoo placed his hands on the devourer's shadow skin. The moment he touched it, pain shot through his body like lightning. But it was not just pain, it was hunger. Hunger so deep and desperate that it felt like his soul was being hollowed out. The curse flowed into him like dark water. He felt his body changing, growing larger. His vision split into hundreds of eyes. His mouth multiplied until he had teeth, like broken glass. But something else was happening too. The ancient song in his head grew louder. The memory of every human who had ever refused to give up. Every person who had looked at impossible odds and decided to fight anyway. The hunger tried to make him want to consume everything. But Jinwoo's human stubbornness turned that desire inside out. Instead of wanting to devour, he wanted to protect. Instead of wanting to destroy, he wanted to create. Instead of wanting to end things, he wanted to save them. The curse fought back. It showed him visions of easy power, of planets to consume, of the satisfaction of ending civilizations. But Jinwoo had something the curse had never encountered before. The absolute human refusal to do what he was told. He said, and his voice shook the broken reality around them. I will not be what you want me to be. I choose what I become. The curse shattered. Light exploded from Jinwoo's body, not the harsh light of destruction, but the warm light of healing. The hunger that had plagued the devourer for millions of years was not destroyed. It was transformed, changed from a desire to consume into a desire to nurture and protect. The devourer shrank rapidly, shadow body becoming solid and real. When the light faded, what remained was not a monster, but a being that looked almost human, tall and thin, with silver skin and eyes like stars. Ancient but no longer terrible. The curse, it whispered. It is gone. We are ourselves again. Jinwoo fell to his knees, exhausted but alive. The transformation had changed him too, but not in the way the curse had intended. Felt stronger now, more aware of the connections between all living things. The hunger was still there, but it had become something beautiful, a desire to feed others instead of feeding on them. Through his communication device, Commander Park's amazed voice said, "The energy readings are stabilizing. The threat is over." How did you... I got stubborn, Jinwoo said, smiling despite his exhaustion. The being that had once been the devourer knelt beside him. Across the galaxy, our brothers and sisters are waking up from the curse. Millions of years of hunger ending, because one human refused to accept what seemed inevitable. That is what humans do, Jinwoo said. We look at the impossible and make it possible. We take the worst things in the universe and turn them into something better. Later in the medical bay, Minho sat beside Jinwoo's bed and shook his head. In amazement, only you would solve a cosmic crisis by being too stubborn to die properly. Commander Park stood nearby, writing reports that would change how the galaxy understood both world eaters and humans. The Academy Council wants to study what happened here. They say it could revolutionize our approach to cosmic threats. Good, Jinwoo said. Maybe next time, instead of trying to destroy the monsters, They will try to save them. Through the window, they could see ships returning to the station. Families reuniting. Life continuing because one human cadet had chosen to say no to the darkness. And in the depths of space, creatures that had been trapped in hunger for eons began to remember what it felt like to be free. The age of world eaters was over. Of world healers had begun, and it had started with a human who was too stubborn to let the universe tell him what was impossible.